And as an American leader, but also just as an American citizen, your compassion belongs first to your fellow citizens. It doesn't mean you hate people from outside of your own borders, but there's this old school, and I think it's a very Christian concept, by the way, that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens in your own country, and then after that, you can focus and prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. They seem to hate the citizens of their own country and care more about people outside their own borders. That is no way to run a society. And I think the profound difference that Donald Trump brings to the leadership of this country is the simple concept, America first. It doesn't mean you hate anybody else. It means that you have leadership, and President Trump has been very clear about this, that puts the interests of American citizens first. In the same way that the British Prime Minister should care about Brits and the French should care about the French, we have an American president who cares primarily about Americans, and that's a very welcome change.
So you look at it practically. There's just a limited number of resources, let's say dollars, for example. What is your first priority? Think of it this way. Your family has a budget. Our nation is like a big family, and it needs a budget. Your family should prioritize first the needs of your family. You should feed your wife before you feed somebody else's wife. You should feed your kids before you feed somebody else's kids. And it may look great to take all of your income and to go disperse it to help the needs of others. But if you come home and you have not stewarded well, and you've not prioritized and cared for and provided for your family, while others may praise you, your family should critique and despise you. When Jesus says to love your neighbor, it was Martin Luther, the great Protestant reformer, he rightly said, your wife and kids, I'm paraphrasing, are your nearest neighbor. I've seen this a lot in ministry, where guys will go out, pastors and missionaries and leaders, and they'll love everybody, but they don't have time for their family. They'll serve everybody, but they neglect and overlook their own family. They will meet the needs of everybody, but they don't meet the needs of their own family. And that is reprehensible. And what happens nationally is we tend to, if you are a globalist and a leftist and a progressive, number one, you tend to ignore your nearest neighbor. You tend to be a bad steward. You tend to mismanage resources. You tend to rack up unconscionable, incomprehensible debt, all in the name of kindness and generosity. And then what you're doing is you're taking a massive debt and you're giving it to future generations, which actually isn't loving the future and future generations of legacy. And so at the end of the day, what you're dealing with is reality and math. There are only so many dollars that are able to be distributed. And wouldn't it make sense that those dollars would be given to those who are citizens of that nation and have actually paid into that government with their own taxes to then have their resources spent to further the well-being of their nation? If America doesn't prioritize itself, eventually nations that do, like Russia, like China, like Iran, and like North Korea, they're going to gut us and they're going to destroy us. And in the name of tolerance and diversity, we will cease to exist.